mile-per-hour sustained winds. This is now 330 miles or so east of the southeastern Bahamas. Still a ways to go. Still moving northwest at 13 miles per hour. The biggest change that we're seeing with this track is it's going to slow down a little bit before it makes impact with the Florida coast. Still going to keep this thing very, very strong, but it is going to delay the time that the eye wall is going to be crossing the Florida coast. So just keep in mind that this is still a very dangerous situation. As for the Carolinas, we're not really going to have that many impacts really over the coming days. So Dorian, again, a hurricane, 85 miles per hour, likely could become a Category 2 storm once winds get to about 96 miles per hour and above. I think that likely is going to be happening through the overnight. And it's at this point they're going to be heading into a process that the thing is going to be rapidly intensifying. If it increases by 35 miles per hour, we're talking about sustained winds. That would be the definition of rapid intensification. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Here's Saturday by 2 p.m. 125 mile per hour winds at that point, and it looks like this could become a Category 4 storm. That's when winds are sustained at 130. That means that you have wind gusts as high as 150, 155 miles per hour. That's getting closer and closer to wind gust-wise Category 5 strength. So this is Sunday during the afternoon. Things are going to slow down big time. Still, even though it's flirting with the coast, they're going to have effects of some hurricane-force winds. The eye wall hasn't yet made landfall at this point. This is now Monday afternoon on Labor Day, and then it's going to slow down. Screeches on the brakes, and within a 24-hour period, it's dropping down to Category 1 strength. At this point, it looks like it's going to scrape through Florida, including Orlando, up to Jacksonville, and will glide along the coast. There's still going to be that chance that it could veer off, but right now it's still the central Atlantic coast of Florida that's going to be best in line for this. Also, this thing is massive. The cloud shield with this is going over 300 miles. That is pretty standard for a typical hurricane, but I think it's only going to grow, at least the extent of that cloud cover across this, as we continue to define that eye wall. So we're talking about Category 3, Category 4 strength. That is devastating to catastrophic damage. That's a major storm. Anything Category 3 or larger, it's considered to be major. So devastating damage looks to be in line as this is going to be making landfall. So make sure to keep that in mind. And we're starting to get some comments. Orlando, my son lives there. Orlando is not going to get the main strength when I'm talking about 111 to 129 miles per hour. It's going to be the coastal areas. But Orlando still going to be in line for a lot of flooding. Keep that in mind. This could turn into a big flooding event for Florida because once it moves onto the coast, it's not going to exit off towards the west back out into the Gulf. It's going to sit there. So a lot of rain for central Florida, for north central Florida, and that's going to be an evolving story at that point. And then I think the winds are rapidly going to die down. But this definitely could be a wind event as it is making impact with the coast. We're also hearing Charleston. Charleston is still going to be an idea that we will have that potential, possibly, as we are working our way into Thursday. Thursday, I think it's mainly going to be rain for Charleston, but the winds should be a lot lighter at that point, and many people are saying like Matthew. Well, every storm is going to have its own entity. I think that Dorian is going to have its own problems there, but as far as the flooding goes, the Carolinas aren't going to see that type of rain that we saw with Matthew. So it's going to be a different beast on its own. Back to rapid intensification. This is what I think we're going to be seeing over the next 24 to 48 hours. So within a 24-hour period, if we see those winds increase by 35 miles per hour, and I think we will see that once we have prime time conditions, that's where we're going to be keeping an eye on this thing jetting up to maybe a Category 4 strength, making this thing major. So right now, this is going to be jumping into waters up to 85 miles per hour. Anything at 80 degrees is going to keep this alive, but we can take that one step further. Also looking at the depths of the waters. Everything is favorable there because you have something called upwelling. So that storm is just thrashing the waters. So I'm talking about 700 meters deep. So that's close to over 2,000 feet deep. We still have warmer waters, which is going to keep this thing alive. Once it slows down near the coast, though, that could be in our favor. That's where it really could weaken by 10 to 20 miles per hour even. That was kind of similar to what happened with Florence. It really screeched on the brakes as it got a little bit closer. Ron's saying, why two models? What's the difference? We don't have just two models, Ron. We have multiple models we're looking at. Now, the big ones, usually for long-range forecasting, is going to be the European model and the GFS, which is the Global Forecasting Systems. I'm going to show you both of those coming up. When I talk about a bunch of different models, look at all these different runs. Now, a lot of these are the reoccurring models within the same entity of the GFS and the Euro. We don't have the Euro arrow on here, but the big thing that we're looking at for the models is the general consensus. It has everything lined up about 100 miles off the coast of Florida, but then here's the big change that we saw from yesterday. It's not really going to exit off towards the west. There's still going to be a chance for that, but we start to see more of a gradual turn up. But look at the time. That's Thursday at 5 p.m. This is projected to make landfall maybe later on Labor Day into Tuesday. So there's still a lot of time, a lot of flooding. So it's a good section of north central to central Florida. It's going to be really in here in the hurt, or feeling the hurt as far as some of that rain goes. And then it's going to be the eastern side, or really the southern to eastern side of Georgia that could have a lot of rain. I think that's going to be the big developing story. Talked about the two models. Here's the global forecast system with the European model. Look how close they are by Sunday. Here's where things kind of go off the rails, and that's why we still need a little bit more time. One, sending it a little bit further south. One, keeping it in line what we've seen over the last couple of days. GFS, that's the one I'm kind of sticking with of what's going to happen, because watch. Here's Tuesday. It's rapidly weakening. You can still see the eye wall, the center of circulation, but then it unravels in general heading into your Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So any effects that we're going to have here, Charlotte, likely just maybe a brief rain shower, but that might not be until Friday, Saturday of next week. So we still have a lot of time, but it is the Charleston area because that was brought up. They still will have a chance for maybe a little bit of localized flooding. The closer that you are, of course, to the center of this, the better chance you'll have something in the middle of next week. But it's certainly going to be a waiting game. Also, for our wave heights, another thing to factor in, we are going to see them expand over 10 to 15 feet as this is approaching the coast. But as this is starting to well up, there's still going to be a chance for some higher impacts up into Charleston and along the Georgia coast. So where are we at? For the Carolinas, you still have to be ready for areas about Charleston, but I really think that this is going to be a Florida event. This is mainly a Florida event. I'm going to repeat myself there, but anyone in the yellow, I'm talking about from Jacksonville down to West Palm Beach, especially around Fort Pierce over to Daytona Beach. Orlando, you have to worry about a lot of rain coming at you over a couple-day period. Anyone in yellow, we are in that 3 to 5 days out. Get set, and if you have a lot of family members, especially along the coast, this is turning into a major event. Here in the Carolinas, it's going to be a waiting game over a week that we could even have some of the rain showers or any sort of impacts from what's left over from Dorian at that point. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. That's the most recent update. Not a lot of changes, really just that it's slowing down as far as the timing goes. Things could change, but where the exact eye wall, the strongest winds are going to be impacting the Florida coast. Regardless, though, Florida looking at a lot of rain, a lot of flooding, and some damaging winds as we approach Labor Day and beyond. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy. Brad Panovich is up next with another update. Make sure to join us online and also on the air in WCNC.